Hello everyone, I'm 𝗵 𝗙𝗶𝗱 and it is Friday the 4th of October. I'm here in Perth today on the land of the Wadjuk people, and before we begin I'd like to pay my respects to elders past, present and emerging. We've got a lot to get through for the show today. We're going to be looking at our stat of the week, and for this week we're going to be focusing on how many jobs do Australians have, or how many Australians are holding multiple jobs at any one point in time. Hot jobs across Australia, and then we're going to look at our social media insights on how employees would react if the employer mandated that everybody will return to the office. And we're also very fortunate to be joined by Tudor Vasile from the Mental Awareness Foundation to talk about some great work they're doing in an event that we're holding on the weekend. So let's get into it. So what we've got in front of us is from the Australian Bureau of Statistics, and this shows how many Australians are holding more than one job. So you can see it's a dramatic rise over the course of 2002 to 2024. At the moment, so as of June 2024, 6.5% of Australians held more than one job, and that's actually over 900,000. If we go back to 10 years ago, it would be 600,000 and just 5%. And interestingly, when you go into the breakdown of those statistics, women, workers aged between 2024 and more recently, there's been a big increase in older Australians now holding more than one job. The leading causes of this has been the rising cost of living, job insecurity, and changing work preferences. But there has been a very slight dip between 23 and 24, but it definitely has been a marked increase. And I think it's something we're going to look to see move forward as we get more stats coming through. So our hot jobs for today, we've got a customer service officer role in Adelaide. So looking for someone to come on board. I believe that is a permanent role, but it's going to be quite a quick response. If you do have a background in particular high volume customer service, please reach out to Peter Seaman, as you can see the details below. Also got a legal assistant based in Melbourne, paying 80 to 95,000. Looking for someone who just has previous billing experience, obviously proven experience as a legal assistant litigation. And you can contact 𝗏 𝗙𝗶𝗏 on the details below. And for our working holiday makers, we've got a HR generalist role in London, £28 an hour. A marketing executive also in the UK, 27,000 to 30,000. And lastly, in Auckland, operations assistant, 60 to 62,000. Now, we're joined by Tudor Vasile. Welcome to the show, Tudor.
Hey guys, thanks so much for having me. Appreciate it.
You're very welcome, and I'm looking forward to having a chat today because I know we've known each other for a couple of years, and I'm really looking forward to sharing the story that the great work that the Mental Awareness Foundation does. So perhaps we'll start with that. Could you tell us a bit more about the Mental Awareness Foundation and what they do?
Yeah, absolutely. So, as you said, we are called the Mental Awareness Foundation. We're a grassroots Queensland-based mental health charity, and we focus on preserving lives by empowering individuals. Look, sadly, we started 15 years ago because my brother and I, we sadly lost our two good mates to suicide in a 3-month window. And to really quickly, you go back 15 years ago, no one was talking about mental health. To be able to get onto a podcast like this and talk about mental illness didn't exist. You know, it was so taboo. The stigma was terrible. So we started a charity called the Mental Awareness Foundation, where our goal is to get the conversation started. So a little bit about us really quickly. We support, we educate, and we do awareness activities like Walk for Awareness, which is this weekend, where it's all about getting the conversation started and breaking the stigma in the community.
And what do you think some of I know you said we're talking about it a lot more, which is fantastic, definitely seen an increase, but what would you say in the workplace, some of the common misconceptions around mental health are that you see?
Yeah, to be honest, I go around and do a spot speak support 45-minute mental health workshop, and we do have these discussions. And the number one is the fact that people see mental illness as a weakness. So that stigma still exists, and people are afraid to speak up about it. And I encourage people to say, look, if it's okay for you to go home because you got the flu, then it's okay for you to report to your senior manager or your boss or even to you, Ben, that, you know what, you're depressed, you've got anxiety and you're not coping, then that's great. Thank you for sharing that. You should need to take some time to yourself and work on that. So the big misconception is that it's a sign of weakness. The second thing is people don't want to be judged. Fear of being judged or alienating others is another big misconception that occurs in the workplace. People don't feel they want to burden you, Ben, because of my dramas that I've got at home. You know, I don't want to have to download all this onto you. So people keep it inside themselves and they do not share it. And look, we know what happens. That builds up inside them. And then they use different forms of coping mechanisms to deal with that. You know, they retreat, they don't communicate, they turn to alcohol, drugs, they lock themselves in their rooms and so forth. So, so those a couple of the big key issues that we're facing. The big one is also that I'm surrounded by CEOs, politicians, big guys, and they all think it won't happen to them. So the big thing, and you're on the workplace and you think you're pretty resilient, you're pretty tough. Guess what? There is a strong possibility that you can suffer a mental illness in your lifetime. We talk about it already. 1 in 5 Australians are going to suffer a mental illness in their lifetime. So, and it's getting worse. So being able to take care of them. So you got me started. You'll have to jump in, Ben, if I.
No, you go.
If I'm going down a rabbit hole here, sorry, mate. You know, but that's where we've got to take care of our mental health. You know, set up best workplace practices, enabling staff to turn to somebody in the boardroom or in the organisation to turn to for help. You know,
well, that was actually one of the questions I was going to ask you as an employer. What do you think are some of the practical things we could do to support our staff if there is a mental health situation?
Yeah, the big thing is straight away, I say to CEOs, is just to create that safe space for a conversation. So it straight away just allowing people to know that it's okay to have a mental illness, it's okay to suffer, and it's okay to speak up and communicate to your peers and to your loved ones, to your support network at the organisation straight away when you're doing it tough. We need to remember, guys, that work is tough, but also you've got family and friends that are leaning on you as well. And when you bring that all together, sometimes we just don't know how to cope with it. So we need to communicate. So, yeah, straight away creating that safe workspace, Ben, to have those conversations. A big thing that we're doing is implementing mental health training as well throughout the organisation. You don't have to do week-long courses. You don't have to do 3-day big workshops. You know, it's bringing in monthly workshops and trainings to your organisation to teach staff how to spot the signs, how to have the conversation, but also where to turn to for support. And that's the big thing. We grow up at school. I know I grew up at school. No one taught me how to look out for the signs of anxiety, depression when I'm feeling it tough, how to measure my emotions and so forth. That didn't exist. So creating awareness and education in that space. Then two, Ben, how do I have the conversation with you? How do I ask Ben, hey, mate, are you okay, without making you feel uncomfortable? So workshops.
And do you think that might be different for different people? Is that what you were?
Yeah, look, Yeah, look, I have learned through my 14 years in the industry that people find that really challenging to have that conversation. And the reason why is because they don't know where to turn to for support if that person then opens up to them and shares with them that they're having suicidal thoughts. And I can share that because I know I was like that in the first 5 years of my experience. I would see someone I know it's doing it tough, and I'd be like, oh, man, I could ask them how they're doing. Then I got to sit there. Then I got to give advice, and then I got to help them. And the one big thing of advice, Ben, I give to anyone listening right now, you don't actually have to do anything. All you have to do is go up to that person, ask them if you're okay, and just sit back and listen. Listen without judgment. Don't try to be a doctor or offer advice because you're not a trained physician. You're not a therapist. So please do not give advice. But most of all, just give direction on where to turn to for support. Just go, hey, you know what? Can I give you a helping hand to reach out to our counsellor at the workplace? Hey, do you mind if I support you calling your loved one to engage with some support? Actually, how about I find some phone numbers for you to engage with some help in the organisation? So yeah, it is different for everyone, Ben, and there's a number of complex reasons why, but the big fear factor is the number one reason, because people are afraid to ask that question, are you okay? Because they don't know what to do. So and just one thing I want to add as well is just being able to promote available resources. A lot of companies are getting better at this as well, is having places they can turn to for help. And having that readily available on their intranet for the workplace, whether it's counselling services, whether it's cheat sheets on what you can do to help manage your mental health, fitness programs, all that sort of stuff as well. Sorry, Ben,
No, it's great. No, thank you so much for these tips. But obviously, you're very passionate about it, and that's what I love. Yeah. And that's why, I would say to yourself as well, really appreciate the fantastic work that you've been doing. We're very proud to be involved in your organisation, and we're very much looking forward to the event on the weekend. So Walk for Awareness. So could you tell us a bit more about that? Because we've got it coming up on Sunday.
And one of the big things you could do to support mental health in the organisation is lead by example. And Ben, that's what your organisation is doing right now. And I can tell you, I go around and talk to the big guys all day, every day, and there's only a handful of people like yourselves who go, you know what? We're going to be leaders in the mental health space. We're going to partner with a mental health charity, and we're going to engage in community activities. We're going to engage in events, and Walk for Awareness is one of those events. It's the official opening to Queensland Mental Health Week, which starts on this Sunday. There's 300 events all over Queensland, and this is the marquee event. So you get all the politicians down there, celebrities, footballers and whatnot. It is really a great morning. We get 2,000 to 3,000 people out there. We're walking 9 kilometres to raise awareness for the 9 Australians that we sadly lose to suicide every day. But it's a fun event. There's, barbecues, there's activation, there's ice baths, so bring your towel down if you want to jump in an ice bath. There's bands, there's stilt walkers, it's a big mood changing fun event. So it kicks off at about 8 o'clock. I strongly recommend get there around 7. And you'll put the link probably in the chat. So if you haven't registered, you can register to be part of the people to people team that are walking in this Sunday's event. And I know, Ben, it's a long weekend. So, it's footy finals, but let's do something for mental health and get involved on this event on Sunday.
Oh, absolutely, and have been involved a couple of years. It is a great event. I'll definitely be there on Sunday. And once again, thank you so much for your time, and thank you again, as I said, for your passion, because you could feel it straight away, and the organisation is literally changing lives. So I really, really appreciate it, and I'm sure a lot of other people do. And I'll see you on Sunday for the walk.
Thank you, guys, and thank you to people, and thank you, Ben, for supporting.
So let's have a look at our social media poll. So if your employer mandated a full-time return to the office, would you consider looking for a new job? Yes is the result there, 50%. So resounding yes, no 30%, and obviously 90% depending on other factors. For the next poll we're going to have this week, once the job market is more stable, what's your plan? Stay in my current job, find a new job, or not sure yet? So I think there's quite a few people that may be considering this stability aspect that are sort of in between. So really interested to see how that comes out for next week. That's it to everyone. Thank you very much. See you next week.